And welcome to The Picture Show. My name is Emily Barmore, and today we are going to be talking about It, which was a recreation from not only the book, but the 1990s miniseries. So we do have the trailer here for y'all. Let's go ahead and get to the trailer, and then after it, we'll come back and discuss.
There you go. She's all ready, Captain.
Thanks, Billy.
It's not like any time I've ever been in before. People die or disappear 6 times the national average. And that's just grown-ups. Kids are worse. Way worse.
We all float down here.
I saw something. There was this
Clown. Yeah, I saw him too.
Look. It's all connected by the sewers. That's where it lives. What happened? Bill?
Bill, if you'll come with me, you'll float too. You'll float too. You'll float too. You'll float too. You'll float too.
And that was the trailer for It. And here to talk to it with me today is my good friend Daniel Foots.
Hello.
And we talked about it a little bit. You've actually seen the miniseries that came out in the 1990s, or came out in 1990.
Yep.
And you've read the book, which is Stephen King's longest book he made, which was over
1,100 pages. Yeah, it's like 1,107.
So you have a lot to talk about this movie, which if you never read the book, didn't see the miniseries, and just have no clue what it's about 7 kids who are in this town called Derry, Maine.
Derry, Maine, yep.
And they're trying to defeat this clown who goes by the name of Pennywise, but they call him It, which is how they got the name of the movie. And they're trying to defeat him because it's a
demonizing, child killing. It's a whole bunch of things. Throughout the book, the miniseries, and this one, what he is or what will he become is kind of different. But the main thing that he is to children to lure them is the clown.
Pennywise,
that's
the dancing
form
clown.
he takes on to lure kids to kill them.
And one thing I do want to say before we get to talking about the movie is of course, since it's from there's one in the 1990s, but a lot of people thought it was funny because when the movie came out, they did this on purpose too. I read up and they did this on purpose. Pennywise comes out of his sleep within every 27 years.
Right.
The miniseries came out in 1990, and it's 2017, 27 years.
Later. So it was about time for the reboot.
And I just seen this graphic. A lot of people were just like, which clown is scarier? Definitely.
It's 100% Bill Skarsgård. There's no question. On the bottom, Tim Curry was scary, but he was really only scary with his teeth. He had the traditional yellow costume with the big red buttons. What Bill Skarsgård Pennywise has is like a 1930s French. It's just creepier, and his smile is always the thing that kind of stands out because they make his 2 front teeth like a prominent part all the time, no matter when they're showing him. And with the other Pennywise, it was just when he decided to bite the children.
Right, because if you go back and watch the 1990s one, he has regular teeth like human teeth.
Right. Until he decides that he's going to attack, and that's when it changes.
And that's when it changes,
This one,
too.
he just has the gross mouth the whole time, and his smile is, the smile is what makes it to me so much better.
It's 10 times disturbing. And let's go ahead and talk about like debating between the two.
Okay.
Because one thing is that the 1990s Pennywise was more acting like a clown. This is the main thing I want to talk about. It was more of a clown. Like, he still had, like, the dark humor, like, I will kill you all, kill you all.
They
but
left the sinister stuff to the mind, and in this one, they just give it to us.
They gave it to you, like...
Everything that, and, like, so the difference between the opening scenes with Georgie, the famous scene where he goes into the sewer for the first time when he gets taken, in this one, the spin they put on it when they had his arm get bit off, and then they drag him into the sewer, that immediately puts Pennywise ahead of the old one because he does more violence in the first 10 seconds on screen.
As soon as I saw that scene, I'm sitting there in the theater like,
yeah, it was.
This is going to be a great movie. It was a really good remake. He was more, like you said, he was more sinister in this one and more of the evil demon that he is instead of the funny clown that he was in the 1990s.
And
we see on here, you have a lot of notes.
I do. The movie, I think Pennywise, luckily he was and he is supposed to be the strongest thing in the movie. Kind of the details around it, they either brought something in for no reason, like I feel like Henry Bowers had no purpose in this movie.
Because he was from the book.
In the book, he serves a huge role. He's the one that gets blamed for all the kids disappearing and eventually goes insane, and that's what causes him to kill his dad because his dad hates him and just the person he's become. In this movie, they don't do any of that. He's just a bully, and he only exists in the movie to bully them 3 times, kill his dad, and die. Like, it just...
That's all he said in this movie. It wasn't really that big.
It's misplaced. They definitely misfired with Henry. And even in Henry's scenes, the scene where he kills his father, he's with his friends outside. The knife appears in the mailbox, but then the friends disappear. They're not in the scene anymore for no reason. And they show him walk down the driveway, and it's not like, I don't get where they went. He kills the dad, and that's that. They had it in there to end him somehow. And I don't like when movies put people in them just for the sake of dying.
Yes,
that was it.
That was one thing and I read a lot, and you read the book, you watched the miniseries in the 90s, and you've seen this movie. I've watched bits and pieces of the 90s series to kind of get a feel for it. I went to go see the movie last night, and my mom's going to correct me if I'm wrong because she does watch this. I think she has the book, and I think she read it. I don't remember because I know Stephen King's is one of her favorite. Stephen King's and James Patterson are one of her favorite authors, but you did a lot more research than I did. But there was a lot in this movie, I do have to agree with you on this, where they did leave out a lot.
They brought in pieces of bigger parts and then did nothing with them. And I know this is going to be a 2-part series, but they have already taken out Henry, they took out Patrick. Ben and Mike's stories kind of flip from the 90s version to this one, and it's fine because Ben is a more prominent character in this than Mike. Mike is kind of the thing that brings them together, so I wasn't really upset with that. But they just have these subtle changes that either work really well or they're just a complete miss.
Because we talked about it a lot before the show started, while we were setting up, before we even got everything set up, that they did change the background of the story. Like, I think it was Richie who he said he was afraid of, wasn't it that he was afraid of Paul Bunyan?
He was afraid of Paul Bunyan in the book.
But in this one, he's afraid of clowns.
He's afraid of clowns. And they sort of reference it in that conversation when they have it in this movie because they have the statue of Paul Bunyan.
In the background.
And I thought they missed out on that because in the book, that Paul Bunyan statue is what is the fear that comes to life for Richie. They really could have ran with that in this movie. Based on all the other stuff they did, I think it was more of a budget issue. The movie was shot for $35 million, and almost all of the CGI they spent on the stuff around Pennywise. So, I mean, I understand that part of it. I just think you can't show him. To anybody who read the book, when I saw Paul Bunyan there, I was just waiting for him to come to life.
Right.
And he doesn't.
He's just there.
And they show him twice. He's in the opening scene when they fly over, and then when they have the conversation about all their fears. And they kind of do Richie an injustice in that scene by just making him say, "My fear is clowns." And they have a sight line that goes to a clown on a stage that does one trick, and then it cuts back, and that's it. That's the only explanation they give for Richie.
There's
Everybody
no other
else
explanation for
has
that.
very in-depth fears, and how they come out in the movie is better for everybody else except Richie.
Right, and one thing we did talk about, there was a lot more laughs in this movie because the kids kept making jokes. Richie made all the jokes, and who was that kid? Stanley? Yeah, Stanley was kind of the butt of everybody's joke, and they just kind of ragged on him the whole entire time.
Eddie too was the one that kind of bounced off both of them, and which is fine. Seth Green in the miniseries, he was kind of the only comedic relief in that, and that was, what they were trying to do with this one. But they have 6 kids. It's too many to give all major roles, so they just made like niche parts for them, the comedy relief. Ben and Mike, for some reason, are practically historians on the city of Derry. Mike, because his parents died in the fire that he sees as his fear, his mother dies, his father lived. But in this rendition of it, the parents are dead and he lives with his grandfather. And then Ben, he does all the same research, figures out everything. So
that he was the one, because in the movie they did talk about it. He was the one who figured out about the Pennywise and about how when
they mapped together 27 years apart, and all the town's disasters revolved around him. And they show the newspaper clippings where Pennywise, and that's the other thing too that didn't make sense. If he's a figment of their imagination, how would he show up in photographs in a newspaper? That made no sense.
Another thing that you talked about, which you said there was no point, but I think personally, I think they did it to kind of get like a feel, kind of like a connection between Ben and Beverly. Was the scene where the girl, as you saw in the trailer, she gets captured by, she cuts off all her hair, the hair takes her, spoilers by the way, the hair takes her and all the blood comes out of the sink, which that made me throw up because I have very little tolerance for blood. And then they go back and she says, "My dad can't, no one can see it, I don't know if I'm going crazy," and then they clean the bathroom. Yeah,
and so if it's not real, why bother cleaning it? And then when they do clean it, if it wasn't real, the mops wouldn't have blood on them. Like that, I don't know. It's kind of a gross oversight for a scene that was meant to be that's the final hurrah before they band together and go do,
I really think they did it to kind of make a connection between Ben and Beverly, because you can see they kind of have like a connection. They're trying to get
right,
like a
and
connection.
that led into the end when Ben is the one who. Ben is the one that comes in to rescue her after Bill leaves her when he sees her floating the first time. Bill leaves her to go find Pennywise. Ben and the boys come in, and so I get that connection. And they really started early in the movie with the postcard that he leaves for her.
Mm-hmm. We're gonna go ahead and go to a break. We're gonna go to Lauren Wagner with Hollywood Fresh. After the break, we're gonna come back, we're gonna kind of talk about the characters and then more about it and the comparison. So stay tuned with us.
Have an interest in robotics and learning how things work? Do you enjoy working with your hands or working with machines? At Bossier Parish Community College, you can prepare for the new breed of industrial careers, combining the fields of mechanical, electrical, and programmed automation. By acquiring the skills at Bossier Parish Community College, you'll earn an associate's degree in advanced manufacturing and mechatronics, and become workforce ready for today's high-demand, high-income manufacturing jobs. To learn more, call us at 318-678-6000. Interested in the world of security and enjoy technology? How about training for a job that combines both? At Bossier Parish Community College, you can begin a career in network security, earn national credentials and certifications, gain valuable internship experience, and train in the fast-growing field of cyber technology. You'll have a support team, small class size, and hands-on learning. At Bossier Parish Community College, we're nationally recognized as a center of academic excellence in information assurance by the Department of Homeland Security and the National Security Agency. To learn more, call us today.
Hi there, my name is Lauren Wagner, and here is your Hollywood Fresh. Selena Gomez came out in a recent interview talking about how she was violated when she was a Disney star. The 25-year-old can recall the producers worrying more about her looks than her acting. She also can recall when she would be on the beach and photographers would take pictures of her when she was 15 or 16 years old. She didn't understand it at the time because most of the paparazzi were grown men. She finally left the Disney company and is now a pop star. Some nicknames come and go and are sometimes forgotten, unless you're Nicole from Jersey Shore. The 29-year-old posted a video on Snapchat and Instagram of her two kids asking her what does Snooki mean. The mom played it off like she didn't know what they were talking about. Snooki talked about her nickname on the Rachel Ray Show in 2001. Hopefully her kids don't ever find that video. It came out last Friday and they are already talking about a sequel. In the sequel, the kids are adults now and are still trying to get rid of the evil clown. In an interview done by MTV, the kids already picked the adult they want to play as their older self. To see the list and what the kids have had to say about the movie, you can visit their YouTube channel to watch the video. That's all the time we have for today. Once again, I'm Lauren Wagner. Let's get back to the picture show.
And welcome back to the picture show. Again, I'm Emily Barmer, and again, we are talking about it with my good friend Daniel, and we got some balloons, as you can see right here on the set. We have a balloon to remind you that you'll float too. If you know the movie, then you'll get that reference. Or if you've really seen the commercial, you'll understand what the kid,
Yeah, they
Georgie,
pretty much beat it.
They
Like,
beat
just-
that to death.
It's done now, but it was standing
did-
for 30 years before we got sick of it. So
It
that's
what like I like the whole quote. It scared me because all my friends were just like, "Remember, you'll float too."
And that's one of the great things about this version of it is that they not only kept that and said it very often in the movie, they showed it, which it was never shown in the first one.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
just-
no.
I don't know how that happened in the first one. That seems just like a really huge miss, but the way they show the kids floating in this one is excellent.
It was really great. Now, you said that you had a problem with the continuity with the movie.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've seen it 3 times now. The first time I was just trying to see if I would enjoy it, which I can't say I enjoyed it. I enjoyed parts of it. Some parts were just really great. Mostly all the Pennywise stuff is, I mean, I can't say enough about Bill Skarsgård.
He did a
so
really
good.
great Pennywise.
We talked about it off camera earlier. All of the eye movements that he does in the movie were meant to be done via CGI, and he told the director
He can actually do
that he
it.
could do it on his own, and when they did it, it just added that layer to it, and they ended up using his animation, or his eyes, to do Beverly's eyes when she's floating at the end. That's actually his eyes, and they just CGI'd it onto her. When her eyes roll back and they come back.
I did not know that.
Yeah, that was actually Bill Skarsgård's
That
eyes.
was great. Like,
Yeah.
now it makes the movie even creepier.
Yeah.
Knowing that he did the eyes himself. But
But the things with the continuity, it's very simple stuff that I think when a movie as a whole is looked at, people are praising this movie as a whole. I think maybe because we're comm students, I just see it differently. There's 4 movie instances in it that they make reference to. The first 2 are Gremlins and Beetlejuice. They're the posters that are hanging in Bill's room.
because if you didn't know, the movie was set in 1989.
Yeah, 88 and 89.
88 and 89, so it was set in the 80s. So there's a lot of movie 80s reference. Didn't you say something about the bully shirt?
Yes, 2 of the bullies that hang out with Henry Bowers. One is wearing a Metallica shirt of an album that I can't say the name on television, but the logo on it was a toilet with a hand coming out of the toilet holding a sword, which is just a complete direct reference to Pennywise being in the sewer. And then there's an Anthrax shirt that one of the bully wears in the trailer with the album cover of their album Amongst the Living Dead. So they played those 2 kind of rock parts into it.
I did not
and that went
notice
really
that.
well.
My brother did say something like that because he listened to Metallica and everything, so he really...
Yeah, the rock scene when they're throwing rocks is when he's wearing the Metallica shirt, and then the very first scene when you see Henry Bowers and the bullies in the hallway is when he has the Anthrax shirt on.
Right.
So those, for the continuity, were good. They were ahead by a few months on the Metallica one, but it was in the same year, so I'll give them that.
Give them credit for that.
The two things I really didn't like about Beetlejuice and Gremlins, the Gremlins cover, the poster they have in there is the DVD cover that was released like almost 16 years later. And the Beetlejuice movie cover is not the United States poster. So I maybe Bill as a child got the UK Beetlejuice poster. I don't know. That seems kind of off. And then they show the movie theater twice. The movie theater is called the Capitol. It plays a way bigger role, or has a bigger presence in the book, but they pass it a few times in the movie. One time they show that it's playing Lethal Weapon 2, which did not come out until the year after they show it, and then they show Nightmare on Elm Street, which came out in 1984, and they were up to the 4th and 5th ones in 88 and 89, so they kind of just dropped the ball on that. It's not a continuity issue because it only happens once, but I don't see it anywhere else in the movie, but Georgie's room has all circus and clown stuff, the wallpaper, but it also has the turtle on the floor that Bill picks up and like kind of has a moment with. In the book, its nemesis is a supernatural being called the turtle. So I think that's how they were trying to plug those together.
That's
and
actually
maybe
really
it'll come
funny.
into play in the second
in
movie.
the second one,
But
yes.
and then they just kind of, for like when they're looking at the blueprint of the city, they have the two that they overlap and they find out that it's the sewer.
It all leads back to the well.
Yeah, Neibolt Street is at an intersection, a four-way on that, where they show the house. But when they get there, it's at a dead end. The sewer does not, there's nowhere that you can tell on the map where that really high spot would be where the kids are floating at the end of it. That place, if they went underground and they get to that place, that would be above where the house was, where they went down in there. That just doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make a lot of sense. The physics
up.
doesn't make any sense, but other than that, did you like the movie? Because I really love the movie, and you kind of,
I can't say I liked it. I liked Pennywise, and I'm really glad that he was as strong as he was, but the continuity issues just annoy me as, a film student. And there were some that were that blatantly they overlook. Beverly gets the trash can poured on her in the stall in the beginning, and it's on her backpack and it spills on her. 14 seconds later on screen, she's outside talking to Ben, completely dry.
Yes. Another one was when when Henry was doing the tour, he closes the book's upside down.
Yeah, the tour is upside down. Of course he's not going to be able to read it, and those kinds of things, even as the actor, that's what I'm saying, you should be able to be like, oh, and just turn it around. It would have, been the thing. When Eddie is running through the house at the end, he falls through, and then Bill and Ben are trapped upstairs. Once they get out, Eddie has still fallen through the roof, and the table is broken that he landed on, but the hole is not in the roof or the floor.
The hole is not there. The hole is magically fixed. So there was a lot of hiccups that they could have fixed, but other than that, I really liked the movie. The movie was really good to me.
It made $108 million, so it's going to go down as a huge success. It surpassed The Green Mile as the highest grossing Stephen King movie. That made $136 million, but that was on a $60 million budget. So this one is easily just the best of the best. I still think The Shining is the one that has made the most overall.
Let's go ahead and take another break. I hate to cut you off there, but let's go ahead and take another break. We're going to go to Greg Johnson, who has the DVDs and Netflix picks of the week. And then once we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about it and kind of wrap it up. So stay tuned with us.
I teach a wide variety of things, including film editing, directing, documentary making, lighting. I fell in love with art as a young child, and it's just always something that has stuck with me.
I love the whole process of going on set, going back into the editing room, telling a story. That's what I really love about film.
I got laid off from my job, and I figured this was the perfect opportunity to go to school to get a degree for it.
As a kid, I was really into geeky stuff. I couldn't think of anything else that I would rather do.
They really provide you with the equipment and the necessary tools in order to advance in a career, especially in communications field.
Well, one thing that really drew me to video production especially is it's just a way to reach people. And as someone who likes to communicate with other people, I felt that mass communication, especially broadcasting, was a tool that I could use.
You get some hands-on experience. They've got good stuff to work with. They really know what they're doing, and they're willing to pass it on.
When our students leave Bossier Parish Community College, they are equipped to get a job immediately, or they can move on to a 4-year degree.
Hey guys, I'm Greg Johnson, and here are the Netflix and DVD picks of the week. First movie up is The Forgotten, starring Juliana Moore and Dominica West. After being told that the child never existed, a couple discovers that there is much bigger enemy at work behind the conspiracy to suppress the memory. Next up, Pocahontas, starring the voices of Mel Gibson, Julian Hunt, and Chris Bell. An English soldier, John Smith, shares a romantic relationship with Chief's daughter, Pocahontas, when English colonists invade the 17th century Virginia. Next movie up is Jerry Before Seinfeld. This documentary follows Jerry Seinfeld as he returns to the comic strip in New York City for a stand-up set at a club that helped launch his acting career. In DVDs, first movie up is Certain Woman, starring Kristen Stewart, Michelle Williams, and Laura Dern. The lives of 3 women interact in a small-town America which each imperfectly blazing a trail. Next up is The Devil's Candy, starring Baton Rouge's own Puritel Events, Ethan Berry, and Sherry Appleby. A story is painted whose process by accepting fortunes that his family moves into their dream home in rural Texas. Next movie up is Starship Troopers, Traitor of Mars, starring Casper Van Dien and Dina Meyer. A Federation trooper, Johnny Rico, leads a group of new recruits in a satellite station on Mars where bugs have decided to get their target to the next attack. That was the Netflix and DVD picks of the week. I am Greg Johnson, and let's get back to the picture show.
Alrighty, and welcome back. Let's go ahead and wrap up the picture show. I want to talk about our favorite scenes. Personally, my favorite scene, there's a lot to pick from. But my favorite scene, as gruesome as it is the very first scene.
Where he bites off Georgie's arm.
Where he bites off Georgie's arm.
I would say that's easily the most unexpected. For me, everybody has seen the opening to the first one. That scene is just very remembered. So I thought it was just going to follow along that same path. So when he bit the arm and then dragged him in, I was unexpected. It got me off.
Chills down my spine. I'm like,
I think easily my favorite scene is when Richie goes into the clown room. There's all the clowns that are covered with the sheets. He sees his own missing poster in the casket and it says found across it. He panics and goes to close it. As soon as it closes, Pennywise jumps out of it. That was the only time where I felt like the whole theater was scared all together at the same time. That scene put my heart in my lap. And if it had more of those, I might have really said it was a true horror movie, but it had kind of laughs and just things like that. So I liked parts of it, but I can't even say I'd recommend it.
I would recommend people to watch it. I just recommend Elmore to go watch the movie. I was in the elevator with him. I'm like, I said, hey, Elmore, I went to go see the movie. He goes, oh, really? I'm like, yeah, you should go watch it. I just recommend it.
When the second one comes out, I'll be able to truly form that opinion.
Right. One thing you did talk about, and we'll talk about this very quickly, is the fact that there's a scene where Beverly wears an ankle brace.
She has a ring that's got an anchor on it.
An anchor on it. And one thing you did say is it had no relations throughout the movie at all whatsoever until it gets to the scene. She floats lower than anybody because
without that, they show it twice in the movie before that scene, and it doesn't really make any sense why they give it any camera time. But then at the end, she's floating lower than everybody, and that's how they're able to rescue her. That was a really good tie-in without saying anything.
Right. Alrighty, so because we have 1 minute to show, we're going to sadly have to wrap it up. Thank you for tuning in with us. Next week, I think we got the Film Prize, LA Film Prize. So stay tuned for that. Thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely.
See you next week, and don't forget, you'll float too.